Alright, now we're going to do a fun one of my favorites, which is animation. So that's kind of talking about, if you need a line to draw itself on the map, or if you need markers to move and jump around, or anything like that. Anything where things are going to be moving and doing their own thing on the map. It can be a little confusing because we're dealing with coordinates, but we're also handling something just like it's a web page. It's the thing about animation. It's a little bit mathy. That's what's really at the heart, is that when you're animating things, it's a lot of math. And so you have to be prepared to deal with some math. So instead of just trying to find just a plain old animation library, which there are a few here, let's look up animation. You can see there's some overlay animated stuff. Animate a marker along a polyline, make a marker bounce, smooth bouncing, markers on polylines. So there are some stuff. It's not that deep. It doesn't allow you to just have, breathing looking markers that have this strange look to them, or, make polygons change shape randomly or something like that. You want to be able to do cool stuff with your map. So we're going to go over just a basic thing of animating a marker along a polyline, but we're not going to quite call it a polyline. We're going to do something like having a marker, giving it a destination, and then I want it to move along the road to get there. So that's kind of cool, and that's complicated. It involves some of the different pieces we've done so far put together. It may even take us a couple episodes to get through, because we're going to have to involve some geocoding, and we're going to have to know distances. We're also going to have to know the path of the way it can go along. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from here, or somewhere around here. I don't really care where we're actually going to start. We're going to set another point, and then I want, first of all, to draw the route between them. And I want that route to be along the road. So when we actually get that route, it's going to be a whole bunch of points. Point 1, point 2, and that's how we'll draw the polyline. And if we moved the marker really fast, changed its position really fast from one to the next, it would appear as though it is actually animating along the line, just like the marker on the mouse is right now. It's actually changing its XY position and its coordinate position at the same time. It's pretty cool. So we're going to basically do that with the route, and then we're going to just play with that a little bit and see if we can change the speed, see if we can make other effects happen, maybe if it's an SVG, some CSS. Just going to mess around a little bit with animation. And again, you can cover the same basic thing by just doing having one of these libraries if you just are in a rush. But I wanted to show you both because I find it fun, and because understanding what's actually going on isn't a bad idea. It will help you do much more complicated things if you have to do some kind of animated work with coordinates in the future. Okay, so let's get rid of our drawn layer here, and I'll just make a marker right at our starting point. So l.marker, and we'll put in that point, and there we go. And we'll, add to map, of course. Boom. Okay, we're right in Vancouver, and we'll figure out where exactly we want our thing to go, but we need to get some way that we're going to get directions. So let's try to implement some directions. So Leaflet routing machine, we saw this before. So this looks like an easy one to just get started on. Let's go to the API, and let's get it going here. So we already had implemented this, you all remember. So we're just finding this, and we need to, of course, include this actual library. It's a little bit important. Is it already included up here? Marker cluster, Leaflet PM, no. Sure is a mess of libraries though. Alright, it happens. And we have some JS to include down here as well. And there we go. Let's see if the routing control appears on our map. Yes, it does. Okay, and it drew us way over there. We don't want all this, all that. No, we're just going to have this ultimately. But all we want is actually the control right now. Okay, let's reload that. Alright, Now it doesn't drag us away. Also doesn't appear. That's fine. We're going to make it appear on a click. So let's use that we know now. We have a map on click. And we'll function. My terrible typing is at work again. And this time we will, how about we make a marker. New marker. And we will make it this. And I believe we can just put e.latlong in here. Is that going to work? Let's console just in case I forget and I'm wrong. And then when that happens, we're also going to have the leaflet routing control work. Now I'm going to go back and, of course, inefficiently get that code again. Where was it? It's boom. And we're going to have our original one, which we know is this. And our second one. Looks like we may have to do this, but I still need to see that. Okay. So let's click. Boom. And what happened here? So, lat long, yes, but it's .lat and .lng. As you see, even me with doing this almost all day, every day, I still can't for the life of me remember how they all format. All the mapping libraries format the way that they return information just slightly differently. So let's see if I click. Oh, looks like maybe I got an error in here. Okay, so all we have to do here, I just forgot to put the array around that. Let's do that properly. Maybe I should format that correctly instead of putting it in like that. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been all full of it. Okay, now we click, and we get our route appearing, which is pretty cool. That's awesome. So now that we have our route appearing, we know that it gave us a polyline. So we need to figure out how to get a hold of that information when it comes back here. So let's get over to Leaflet and find the events. So as you can see here, they have some good tutorials on integration and about the events. So you can see there's an on routes found here that you can tie in for even your add to map. So great, we'll get our routes. Let's see how this all looks. Click, get it working, it says found one route. I'm going to open console. Did we console log anything? Up, and here we go. So what do we get for our routes? We get name, we get a whole set of coordinates here. We get actually 581 coordinates, which is definitely enough to draw our route along there. So that's pretty cool. We get everything from our first to the very last, and we get all the instructions. Well, we saw all that before. So why don't, once we get that, we start moving this marker. And so we'll do it, we'll just give it. Okay, so when the route's found, we're just going to basically take our original marker, let's set that long, and here what we're going to have to do is, of course, loop over. So we're going to see what that is called, coordinates, appropriately enough, and we'll just loop over it for each function. Coord. Great. So now what we're going to do is actually create a little set timeout fun, which is basically how we're going to make our animation. Because if we just let it run all at once, well, why don't we let it run all at once? Okay, let's just set this in. Cord.lat, cord.long, and you can see I need to actually access the first one here. Sorry about that. Alright, so we click on it. So what happens is actually this library places a marker at the beginning, and so that doesn't really work. So why don't we just go right to what I was doing. So we're going to set a timeout here, and we're going to give each timeout a function of 100 milliseconds times the index number. So each one will take 100 milliseconds longer than the one before. And what we're going to do in each of them is set the coordinate. So let's try it. You can see it's starting to move. It's moving along our line. Kind of cool. It's a little slow, so maybe we could speed it up. Maybe we can make it 1/10 as long. So we click here. There we go. It's moving. It's kind of cool. So it's kind of fun making animations. You see why I like doing it. So you could do all kinds of things with that. You could also make this an SVG marker, and you could have it fade in and out with CSS Animations. So if we were to inspect this, you see these are images, and they actually have the class of Leaflet Marker icon. So these are already accessible with CSS. So we're going to do a little playing around here with just some CSS animation. So we just add this here, add our fade in, and then pull in our animation. Just have it alternate. See how this goes. So you can see we're already fading in and out, which is super fun. And as we make a new one, we can see they all are fading in and out. That's kind of cool and totally unnecessary, but just to show you there's different types of animation at work. So that's fun. That's just a little bit of playing around I thought we would do. Overall, animation can be many, many, many things. One of the most common things I have to do is create drawing areas for people. So for instance, a client might want a certain circle area to be drawable and animatable so that they can move elements of it around, little markers can move properly. So this idea of getting understanding how the markers are moving with respect to where they are on the map in terms of coordinates is really crucial for doing your animation and for making your maps really, really fun. So I hope that wasn't completely over your head, and even if it was, that you still understood what we did and it was useful. See you in the next video.